The college football experience, Oregon Ducks 2022 season preview episode on the Sports Gambling Podcast Networks, presented by WynnBET. Bet $50 at WynnBET, get $200 in free bets. Bet big, win bigger with WynnBET. Head over to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/WynnBET. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/WYNNBET to claim your free bets today. We're also brought to you by IP Vanish. IP Vanish is the official VPN of SGPN, and they're offering 70% off if you go to ipvanish.com/SGP. That's ipvanish.com/SGP. We're also brought to you by SGPN Discord. Yes. Make sure to check out our new Discord server, the perfect place to interact and sweat out bets with the entire SGPN crew. Just go to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/Discord.
This is Mike Leach, head football coach at Mississippi State, and you're listening to SGPN. Let it ride.
Yes, yes, yes. Woo! Welcome to the college football experience, Oregon Duck 2022 season preview. My name is Colby Swinging Database Dad, aka Pick Dundee. That's not a pick. This is a pick.
When Dundee happened, he was a superstar.
I smoke and I drink and I don't have stress and I'm healthy.
Oh, yes. You know, it's always fun talking Duck football. Back to the days of Rich Brooks and Mike Bellotti. I've been a fan of this program's evolution. I am joined by a guy probably doesn't believe in evolution.
A little behind the times sometimes, but I'm catching up.
Give it up for former JMU Duke defensive back, the burrito eating, sideline kiss stealing, wheeling and dealing, Patty C in the place to be.
Hi, well,
buddy. Let me give you.
Give me a jam. Give me something.
Yes, we're talking college football. Yeah. We love college football. Hopefully you're subscribed on YouTube. You'll see this sweet ass graphic. We had it turned down. I shit you not. Shout out to what Oregon's doing, and trust me, as we see college football continue to change at a radical, level. We actually, I think Oregon's one of the more important teams on the future of college football. Hopefully, remaining in the Pac-10 or joining the Big 12, whatever becomes of that. We don't like the two super conference things. We like seeing the Civil War every year and all those other games.
Yeah, give me the various flavors. When you go to Boston or Baskin Robbins, you don't want it Baskin Robbins 2 flavors.
Yeah,
you want 31. The more, the merrier.
We don't want NFL Junior. Okay, we want college football the way it is. Regional battles, a lot of fun, and then on a large playoff, which we never got before. But anyway, Phil Knight has done a great job, and this program's just done a great job ever since Rich Brooks. I feel like, and the uniforms have always been just crazy, right? Well, we really did have to find, I had to go deep into the TV screen graphics here to lower the color because it wasn't coming out on it's still, I feel like, Patty C, if you're watching on that TV, it's still kind of loud. Hopefully this works.
I'm colorblind. Yeah. What is that background color we're dealing with over
yellow?
Behind the O.
Blue.
Is that blue?
Yeah.
It looks blue. Pinkish to me. Anyway, I was going to say something about breast cancer awareness.
No CTE here.
Yeah, come on. I'm legit colorblind.
Okay, well look, who's
I'm
who's not
Irish,
colorblind?
11% of Irishmen are.
Well, I'm
colorblind.
Irish, and
well, you're not part of the lucky 11%.
Patty C.
Quack. Quack.
Go Ducks. What do you make? Mario Cristobal is now in Miami. in comes in, not Dan Henning, former Boston College coach, Dan Lanning.
Oh,
Dan Lanning, young as hell. He was just in college.
that's right.
Pretty sure I saw this guy do a Jaeger bomb like a year ago. Right?
36 years old.
36, man.
It's a baby.
What do you make of that hire? I'm very curious. He's never been a head coach anywhere before.
Yeah, I mean, this kind of reeks of a typical Saban, assistant hire, which generally don't work too well, but Kirby Smart certainly worked, and so
True.
I'm sure that's what Oregon has in mind.
And Kirby Smart, what I believe, played defensive back for Georgia. Well, this guy played linebacker for William Jewell. Yes. Shout out to William Jewell University, D2 football in Liberty, Missouri. Yeah.
I had to look that one up.
There you go. I did too. It's interesting. It's an interesting hire. I mean, he's a Todd Graham guy prior to his Saban and Smart stops.
That's a pretty drastic difference there.
Here's my thing. I mean, but still, bags of cash were dropped probably at Alabama and Georgia.
Yeah.
And they do that probably at Oregon.
That is
so I think the shoe fits.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Miss a beat on that front.
It is an interesting hire though, because it's hard to get a full gauge on it, but we're going to try our best.
Well, I'll tell you what, the concerning thing is Cristobal had recruiting chops coming into it. He was a renowned recruiter before taking the job, and that paid off, which we'll get to. But I don't know that Lanning does have that.
Well, I would argue that he does by landing Dante Moore the other day.
Well, sure. I mean, I don't know. I just the reputation.
Okay.
And he might. I'm not like I haven't dug deep into like the recruiter of the year rankings or whatever, but it's not someone that gets talked about too frequently in the media.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, it's an interesting hire because there were so many talented players on Georgia last year.
Yeah.
So it's hard to get a gauge on how good of a coach I mean, they had 15 players drafted. 15.
Yeah. And he was at Georgia since 2019 though. So really since 2018 as the outside linebackers coach. So you could argue that he was involved heavily in the development of that talent and cranking out 15 NFL draft picks.
For sure.
How many of those were defenders? Probably.
I think it was like 11 or something. It was something wild. But that's also an insane amount of talent. Now, Oregon, obviously, Cristobal had them recruiting well, and I still think they're going to continue to recruit well. I read that article today on The Athletic that them talking about the value of Oregon was the same as USC. So the Pac-10 may be able to stay together based off of the value, not only them, the fact that I believe the other schools chart really well over the Big 12. Stanford up there, Washington up there, Colorado up there.
Yeah.
So
I mean, if there are players that staying on the West Coast is a priority to them that are from LA,
well, you have
guess
Phil
what?
Knight still. I mean,
Oregon's
really
going to be number one on that list.
Do you really care if I don't get it. I wouldn't care that if I was being recruited.
Yeah, just give me the biggest bag of money and
biggest bag of money, and
where
am
I going to win games?
I mean, Nike is appealing, so
yeah.
I would assume that too. Anyway, it's going to be so interesting to watch because we'll get into it, but with the season opener, obviously it's kind of a homecoming for Lanning. His coordinator, Patty C, he went out and hired Kenny Dillingham as an offensive coordinator,
who is even younger than he is, 32 years old,
and he got Tosh 3.0 Lepoy to run his defense.
Which is impressive. West Coast guy, Walnut Creek, California.
That's wine country.
That's right. 41 years old himself. So a very young staff.
What do you make of the coordinators?
Well, Lepoy was supposedly the defensive coordinator at Alabama while they won a national championship.
Sure.
Forgetting off the top of my head whether that was 2017 or 18. But to have a head coach that was a national championship defensive coordinator and a defensive coordinator that had the same thing, won a national championship, the defense should be fine from an X's and O's standpoint and a player development standpoint.
Well, I can tell you this: they got 8 starters back on offense. They were 42nd in scoring offense a season ago, 24th in rush offense with that offensive line. Cristobal known for being an offensive line coach, recruiting the offensive line well. 76 in passing offense, 50th in total offense, which is crazy because we just did Nebraska, won 3 games. They had a better offense than Oregon, and they still only had 3 wins.
That's true.
Now the quarterback situation, Anthony Brown is gone. It's going to be Bo Nix most likely, transfer in from Auburn. Patrick Nix was his father, if you remember. We're huge college football nuts. So back in the 90s, Patrick Nix was one of our favorites. Me and NC Nick, I know. With the Auburn Tigers. Ty Thompson will be battling, I think, for that spot. Patty C and Eugene.
Yeah.
Running back also, they got hit with the portal. So it seems like it's going to be Byron Cardwell, who's talented but inexperienced. Only one wideout returns, and wide receiver Chris Hudson. Your tight end is back with Terrence Ferguson. And their entire offensive line, really. I mean, they had so many different injuries up front. Yes, they did lose a guy, but depending on how you shake it out, it seems like
they're pretty stacked.
They pretty much returned everybody but one. But like I said, penciled in starters. They ran a couple different lineups, so it's hard to gauge, was that a starter or not.
Right.
So, but just know they have 5 guys returning that have started lots of games.
2 of them are first team preseason all conference. That's Forsyth and Bass, and then 4th team preseason all conference in Ryan Walk.
TJ Bass, absolute beast.
That's a solid offensive line.
Yeah, I think that's for coming into a first year coach. If you're going to tell me any position that we have, knowing how talented Cristobal was recruiting that area too, we can return a whole offensive line. That's fantastic.
Yeah, a talented and well-developed offensive line is a nice luxury to step into.
Now the defensive side of the ball, like I said, Tosh 2.0 Lapoy, he has got his work cut out for him. 75th in scoring defense, 53rd in rush defense, 86th in pass defense, 72nd in total defense. And obviously they lose Kayvon Thibodeau. They have 7 starters back on defense, 2 of 3 back on the defensive line, led by Brandon Dorius. They do return 3 in the linebacking core, and Noah Sewell is one of them.
5-star brother of Penei Sewell, who you may remember.
Top 10 pick by was that Detroit?
Sounds right.
Yeah. 2 of 5 back in the secondary. They hit the portal some. Their kicker is back, breaking in a new punter. I don't know that their kicker will be their guy because they also went in the portal and did that.
Penei Sewell was offense line. Sorry.
Yeah. That's what I said.
Oh,
yeah.
Yep, Detroit.
Yeah,
nice.
that's what I thought. Yeah. So I guess it's a pretty nice. I mean, look, you're returning all in total. I think that puts you at 16 potential starters, depending on obviously these in camp things can happen, but returning your whole offensive line, and I think they kind of rebuilt the defensive line to be somewhat decent, and I'll touch base on that in a minute, but.
And 3 5-stars,
talented.
3 5-stars on defense projected to start. Remember, when 24/7 or whoever these services that do these projections make these, there's usually about 32 5-stars per year, and that's like, hey, they want to figure out who's projected as a 1st-round draft pick. That's 3 projected 1st-round draft picks on your defense. And that's from one recruiting class alone. That's pretty damn good.
Yeah. All right. Well, we're gonna take a break, but we're gonna talk transfer portal, recruiting rankings, the future of Oregon football, what conference we think they'll be in. Patty C saying the Conference USA. No, I'm joking. And just a few, just what Vegas expects from the Ducks in 2022 and what we expect here on the College Football Experience. But first, just remember, subscribe to the College Football Experience. Subscribe on YouTube as well, and also subscribe to the College Basketball Experience. Dana Altman doing a fantastic job. I think last year a little bit of a setback, but I think this upcoming year they're going to be pretty loaded. Brought in Jermaine Cousinard from South Carolina and Keyshawn Bartholomew from Colorado in the transfer portal. They also and finally Dante's back. Hopefully you can stay healthy.
Sounds like for the 100th year in a row.
They got the #1 JUCO kid. They're going to be a pretty good team. Will Richardson back as well. So subscribe to the College Basketball Experience. We talk Oregon college hoops. We talk college basketball year round, and Oregon is certainly a big part of that with how good they are. But first, I got to get us paid. All right, the College Football Experience, Oregon Duck style, on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network, presented by WinBet. Bet $50 at WinBet. Get $200 in free bets. Bet big, win bigger with WinBet. Head over to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/WinBet. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com to claim your free bets today. We're also brought to you by IPVanish. IPVanish is the official VPN of SGPN. They're offering 70% off if you go to IPVanish.com/SGP. That's IPVanish.com/SGP. We're also brought to you by SGPN Discord. Yes, make sure to check out our new Discord server, the perfect place to interact and sweat out bets with the entire SGPN crew. Just go to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/Discord. We're also brought to you by Dave. Yes, not Dave Dickinson, the old Montana quarterback, although shout out to him. We're talking about Dave. All right. Dave is the banking app that can help you get $500 instantly with extra cash, because let's be honest, we've all been in a situation at some point in our lives where we needed it. Things got a little tight on the bank account. You know what I mean? Maybe you could only afford a few gallons of gas in your car. Or you're trying to get your girl something for the birthday. I don't know if
you're like us, no matter how much money you're making, you're going to find a way to get tight in your bank account.
Oh yeah. I remember I did a comedy. I did a comedy show in Vegas a long time ago at Harrah's in Vegas.
Yeah.
I was opening up for somebody and I got paid, I think it was like $200 per show.
Yeah.
For like 4 nights in a row, 5 nights in a row.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, great, I just made $1,000.
Yeah.
Well, no, I was out having a good time in Vegas
3
all
hours
week.
later.
Dude, I drove home and I'm like doing the math and I'm like, first off, my air condition blows on the way home.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm driving home and my radio, so that like a spark blew. I had no radio. I had no air conditioning. I'm driving back to LA in June. Yeah. It's like 120 degrees.
You're hungover as hell.
I'm completely hungover from a week. My complexion's like fucking green, and I'm driving back home and I'm doing the math and I'm like, wait, let me get this straight. You went out there to make money, and you're coming back like negative 400, negative 500. And now you got to get your air conditioner
and
fixed.
You're taking 6 years off your life.
Yeah, you got to get your air conditioner. I remember that. I mean, I looked at a photo. I remember a buddy of mine sent me a photo from like the 7th night or whatever it was. And I was in Vegas. And I was like, dude, I looked like the Nick Nolte mugshot or something. You know what I mean? Like, I look like I've been through the washing machine or something. I don't know. But anyway, point is, Dave can get you. Had Dave been around back then, man, I could have got that Dave app. He would have been looking
like $1 million. You would have been wearing a tuxedo on the way home.
Rental car.
That's right.
You know what I mean?
Take a limousine.
That's what I'm saying. So check out Dave. It's the cash banking app. I'm telling you. And there's a lot of great things about this. There's no interest, no credit check needed. So no sense in stressing out. Just get Dave. Download the Dave app from the App Store right now. That's DAVE. Sign up for extra cash account and get up to $500 instantly. For terms and conditions, go to dave.com/legal. Instant transfer fees apply. Banking provided by Evolve. That's a member of the FDIC. All right, we are back talking Duck football. Here we go, Patty C. The transfer portal, such a big factor in today's college football. So aside from grading recruiting rankings, now we have to sit there and grade the transfer portal rankings because it's pretty gigantic. So incoming transfers, and I'm very curious if you think they won or lost the portal, Patty C. Incoming defensive lineman Casey Rogers from Nebraska, who I expect to be a starter, Patty C.
Nice.
Running back Marquise Irving from Minnesota, where they just had a complete stable of running backs. Wide receiver Caleb Chapman from Texas A&M. Defensive lineman Jordan Riley from Nebraska, which I think, once again, between Rogers and Riley, I think they're going to compete for starting jobs. I think both of them are going to get on the field a lot. Kicker Andrew Boyle from Washington State. What the fuck is going on?
Fire those
here?
shots.
Where is that? Where's? Wait, what are you doing? You leave Washington State for Oregon? Same conference? That's your rival?
Greener uniforms, greener pastures, buddy.
Greener dollars, probably.
Yeah.
Punter Adam Berry left Temple, which I completely understand. Wide receiver Chase Cota from UCLA. I wonder if his dad's Chad Cota, the former safety for the Oregon Ducks, who played for the Carolina Panthers.
Very nice.
This one hurt me here. Safety Christian Gonzalez from Colorado. Conference transfer. This guy's really good. He's young. I think he's going to be a day one starter.
I think that green money you're talking about is going to happen a lot.
He's really
within
good.
The Pac-12.
And then defensive lineman Sam Taimani, and this guy might be their best defensive lineman now. He comes over from Washington. What is happening?
Yowzers.
I don't like it. And quarterback, obviously, Bo Nix from Auburn. All in all, that's a pretty damn good job. Good job of bringing in guys.
That's a great recruiting class or a transfer class. Good for 24th in the country, 4th within the Pac-12. Obviously, not as good as what USC brought in.
Well, I gotta mention what they lost. They did lose defensive lineman Christian Williams. He's in the portal. Defensive end Louis Cresto went to the Nevada Wolfpack. The offensive tackle Jonah Miller's in the portal. Offensive tackle Jalen Jeffers went to UCLA and Chip Kelly. Offensive lineman Jonathan Dennis to the Miami Hurricane. Cornerback Jalen Davies to UCLA. Offensive lineman Logan Sagapulu to the Miami Hurricanes with Mario Cristobal. Running back Travis Dye to USC. Trey Benson, the running back to Florida State. Running back Cross Patton to Nevada. Wide receiver Spencer Curtis to Nevada. Offensive tackle Kai Arnerson to Nevada. Tight end Cooper Schultz to Nevada. Defensive lineman Jason Jones to Auburn. Cornerback DJ James to Auburn. Wide receiver Micah Pittman to Florida State, and offensive tackle Kingsley Suamata Tiae to BYU.
Man, losing a lot to Nevada there. We'll say one thing that stands out: Dan Lanning wasn't able to bring anyone over from Georgia. Granted, half the team just got drafted.
Yeah.
But you would think maybe he would have developed a relationship and said, "Hey, you're on the bench at Georgia for the next 2 years. Why don't you come start for me next year at Oregon?" Nope, didn't get any transfers to come with him. But that is a long cross country trip.
Yeah, it still brought in a ton. I think he's still with you getting your starting quarterback potentially. I'm gonna go ahead and say you want it.
I agree.
You want it, but definitely took some hits on that road to victory lane there. So, well, talk to me about recruiting rankings, buddy.
I want to check one thing real quick, but recruiting rankings, they have been they've been good. Let's see, last 5 classes nationally: 13, 8, 14, 7, 16. So they go into the top 10, out of the top 10, into the top 10, out of the top 10. But within the conference, that's been good for 2, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. So they are the most talented team in the Pac-12 finally. But
they got murked by Utah. The final 2 games they played Utah. I mean, 2 out of the last 3 weeks, right?
Yeah. The talent really didn't make a big difference there. I will say this though, their talent composite ranking, which is obviously influenced by more than 5 years ago, went from 5 years ago 25, 17, 12, 9. So steadily and very markedly improving from year to year within the conference. That's been good for 5, 2, 2, 1. So they're finally the most talented team in the conference last year, according to this metric, but clearly outcoached.
Yeah.
Clearly outcoached. But
let's get to it, Patty. See, so if you're watching on YouTube, subscribe to the College Football Experience. If not, the win total's at 8.5. Shout out to the SGPN graphics team.
One more nugget.
What's that?
Bo Nix was a 5-star. So we'll see it. And I'm going to push back on you because his individual stats. We talked a little pre-episode. You said you've never been super impressed with him. I think he's athletic. I agree with you that he's never struck me as like that dude who's gonna win it all.
Doesn't mean he can't be. It's just saying I have not been impressed with him thus far in his career.
Well, let me say his stats are probably a little better than you're thinking. Now his completion percentage not that great, 57, 59, 61. But his touchdown interception ratio over 3 years, 39-16 with 11-3 last year. There needs to be more touchdowns.
How many was that Alabama State game?
That's probably true.
Yeah.
There needs to be a lot more than just 11.
Look, I'm rooting for him. I like his dad. I'm just saying, to me, he came in with. They started him over Malik Willis.
Yeah, ridiculous.
So to me, he still got some years to prove this. I'm rooting for him.
Almost 900 career rushing yards. So he is a bit of a dual threat, but he needs to develop into a much better passer.
Yeah. So 8.5 wins is the win total. Vegas, the odds right now, this is all subject to change. -135 on the over, +115 on the under. So Patty, Vegas is thinking they're a 9-3 football team. They're leaning towards them, saying, "Hey, 9-3."
Off the top of my head, or off the top of your head, what are you thinking?
Yeah, I think that sounds about accurate.
Yeah, you got it after last year, 2 losses against Utah, 38-7 and 38-10. They're playing them again this year. I'm guessing you're chalking that one up as a loss.
Well, no, I haven't looked at the schedule. I'm saying we're looking at the schedule. Yeah, it'll be a little different. Let's hop into the schedule. because week one they play one of the stupidest games in college football, in my opinion. I hate this game, dude. I hate the fact they couldn't play this either in Athens between the hedges or in Eugene, and that both are awesome college football environments. Instead, we have one of these bullshit NFL corporate games.
Yeah.
And it drives me absolutely crazy. They deem this a neutral site game, even though it's in Atlanta, which is like 40 minutes from Athens or whatever.
And it's like a 39-hour drive from Eugene, Oregon.
This game sucks. I would want to if they were playing this between the hedges or in Eugene, it would be like my number one game of the weekend to watch. But throwing it in this stupid dome,
yeah,
it sucks.
Yeah,
the dome environment makes me want to fall asleep watching these football games.
What's worse about it is that if there was a one-off in Portland or Seattle and a one-off in Atlanta, or if there was a home and home or a neutral and neutral series, a 2-game series where one was at a neutral site close by, at least it would be fair. It would still not be as entertaining at all as being on campus. So I agree with you, but at least be fair.
The part of what makes college football great is Eugene, is Athens.
I agree completely.
Play into that. You don't want to escape it. You know what I mean? What?
But they have the nerve to call this a neutral site game in Atlanta. We've seen this a million times. It's just like you go out west, you lose SEC. So they're smart enough to
5-17. The SEC is when coming out to the West in the 2000s.
This is the problem with the Pac-12 is like you have to fight a better fight. You have to negotiate better. You have to have no in your vocabulary. When the SEC pitches a neutral site game in Atlanta, you don't just say, yeah, we'll take a situation where we're way worse off than you are and call it even,
Any chance Lanning, if anyone knows how to stop Stetson Bennett, it's going to be Dan Lanning, right?
You would think so. You would think so. And the fact that Georgia is breaking in a bunch of new starters also bodes well for Oregon here.
Who you taking?
I'm taking Georgia, but
I'm just testing you.
But
I got Georgia too, but go Ducks.
Dude, this would not shock me. The more I think about this, the more I would not be shocked by this.
Well, week 2, hopefully they don't get shocked here because they are taking on the Eastern Washington Eagles. And if they did knock off Georgia, you are playing an FCS that went 10-3 and beat an FBS last year. So, and beat Montana. I mean, they beat UNLV in Vegas. They also beat Montana, who made the FCS playoffs. And they only lost by 3 to Montana State, who played in the FCS national championship. Now, to be fair, they had Eric Barriere, who's a star quarterback. He is now in the United States Football League, so they are replacing a quarterback. But watch out, 1-1, right through the first 2 weeks.
You know what this reeks of here?
What's that?
This reeks of JMU Virginia Tech.
It does
because you have a team from out west coming all the way to east to play at a neutral site. That game was at FedEx Field. And then regardless, you're going back home. Now this is different because that would be Georgia playing against them.
Yeah.
Oregon's going back home a long trip back home. And I'm sure Eastern Washington's got it circled on the calendar.
I still think Eastern Washington, if they had Barriere, maybe you could talk me into like it being a game.
Oregon is very talented.
Oregon will take care of them.
Yeah.
1-1 through the first 2 weeks. And then
here's a big one.
Kalani Sitake, who I think he actually interviewed for the Oregon gig. I'm not sure about that, but I believe he might have. Comes to Autzen Stadium, and this one should be interesting, Patty C. This is a game. Jaron Hall, the quarterback of BYU, is very talented. I can tell you this: if Bo Nix is struggling, I could totally see BYU winning this game. It's in Eugene though. That place gets lit. Give me Oregon, but man, I could totally see that being a game.
This series is 3-3 all time.
Have they only played 6 times?
I know, ridiculous. But BYU won the most recent matchup in 2006. So I'm calling for the upset. I'm saying BYU gets
going with
done.
the Cougars. So you're saying 1-2 to start.
Ouch! Tough start for Lanning.
I got them 2-1, but unfortunately, this is a tricky game to me here. Going to Martin Stadium, taking on Washington State. Cameron Ward from Incarnate Word, the head coach of Incarnate Word, who they went to the FCS playoffs. He left Incarnate Word to be the offensive coordinator of Washington State, and he brought his star quarterback with him. Watch out. I think Washington State might be better than what we think.
Incarnate Word was pretty decent.
Yeah, they were really good in the FCS. I think this could be a game.
38-24 last year in favor of Oregon in Eugene. This year
That was a closer game than that score, though. But
looking at all these rivalries, just on a quick side note here, Oregon has very close series with almost every team in the Pac-12. Only USC has a considerable lead all time. It's a great conference.
If they kick out, if not even kick out, but if they were to not have Oregon State or Washington State, that sucks. They need to keep this. Really,
even without USC,
fuck USC and UCLA for even being in this, like
putting us in this situation. It's still a great conference without them.
But it's hilarious because they're like, well, our money, we did this for our financial. Well, if they were better, they wouldn't be in that jam.
Yeah, everyone would have more.
If
money.
Anything, Oregon was the one that was holding up.
Yeah, exactly.
And Washington,
USC,
Oregon, and Washington have made the invitational, the college football invitational.
Yeah, USC still hasn't.
Jeez. So. Who you taking in that game at Martin Stadium?
I gotta go Oregon.
It was I just think between BYU and at Washington State, they drop one.
Well, I already gave them the L.
So I'll join
BYU.
you. I'll join you through the month of September. 2-2.
Okay.
Home to Stanford. Win.
Boy, this one last year was the worst. This was the worst fucking. You know what this was? This was the powers that be not wanting Oregon to be in the playoff. I swear, if there was a single moment last year that this stood out to me, it was this. It was like, dude, Stanford got like 10 tries and they scored on the last play of regulation with 0 time left on the clock because they called pass interference in the end zone on the last play of the game. They're like, oh, it can't end. It can't end. Give them another chance. They wanted to maybe make it entertaining. I don't know what it was, but they gave them the other chance. And then Stanford wins in overtime and ruins Oregon's season.
I do feel like Stanford's kind of been a thorn in Oregon side over the past decade, but I got Oregon winning this one.
I do too. This is in Eugene, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I got them 3-2 at Arizona, who I do think will be better with Jaden DeLaura. However, I'm taking Oregon in the desert.
Definitely. Although
Arizona played them actually kind of decently last year. Remember we were
something
watching
on something on Twitter just a day or two. There's like talking about Oregon schools going down and playing Arizona schools and always taking L's.
I've always said this, that the Pac-12 from it's at. I think part of their struggles, obviously UCLA and USC should be better, but I think people underestimate the fact that you have to go play in extreme conditions.
Yeah,
like. Pullman is like cold as shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like a cold desert.
Yeah.
And then you have Seattle, which and Eugene and Corvallis, which like always raining,
like fucking rainforest,
always raining. Then you have the altitude teams of Colorado and Utah at an extreme crazy altitude, let alone the fact they could have rain or snow.
Yeah.
Then you have your dry deserts of Arizona State. And even I would even throw like Stanford and Cal in there as potential wet games.
Yeah.
It's a very strange.
I mean, you're dealing with an entire
name me another conference with. I mean, you have to go like Conference USA or something.
Much variation.
Mountain West, maybe. Yeah.
I mean, on the East Coast, you get Boston College and Miami, but it's still like relatively the same level of humidity and altitude that you're dealing with. It's just the temperature that's different.
They never play each other because they only do 8 conference games. So they play like once every 10 years.
That's
true.
I feel like every single year in the Pac-12, you're visiting extreme like conditions,
and it's still not the same to me as like those ones that I mentioned. You're going to altitude and shit. It is. I do think it's a crazy
week to week
advantage for the dog.
Yeah.
So after going into the bye, I'm gonna have them at 4-2.
Yeah.
4-2.
Yeah.
They got a bye, and then they're home to UCLA. This is a sneaky game. Great bye week though. I got UCLA winning. I'm sorry. I got Oregon beating UCLA.
This is gonna be a very good game. Chip Kelly, I'm sure the more times he can get revenge on Oregon, the better. He's got the 5th year. What is it? Is he 6th year? No, he's 5th year quarterback in Robinson. But in Eugene, yeah, let's go Ducks.
All right, so 5-2, and then Justin Wilcox, who turned down the Oregon job, Cal Memorial Stadium in Berkeley. Bring your acid. Upset special. I got Cal.
There it is, because I want to see. I think you pointed this out. By the way, this series all time, at least on Sports Reference, 40-39 in Oregon's favorite. Cal looking to tie it up, even things up here.
This is a good series, man. I feel like a couple years ago. I mean, I've watched the past couple ones of these, and they've been a lot of fun.
They've lost 2 of the last 3 in Berkeley.
Yeah, and even the ones in Eugene. There was one where they didn't have Chase Garbers, and Cal was up 7-3 at halftime. I think 7-3 going into the 4th.
Yeah,
and they end up losing this thing. I think 14-7.
17-7.
Yeah, 17-7. Oh man, the backup quarterback was Modster, the UCLA transfer. If he could just complete a pass, like Cal, I really felt like Cal had him beat. These games are tricky.
Well, again, Pac-12 football has become super physical. It's like they just went and abandoned what their old identity was, which I love. Yeah. Oregon offensive line with Cristobal, defense with Justin Wilcox.
Cal is runs the hell out of the ball too. Give me Cal on an upset. Oregon fans are going to hate me, but I just feel like that's a tough, especially after the UCLA game too. Like I just feel like I don't feel great about them winning both.
That is a tough stretch. I'm giving both to Oregon.
Wow. At Colorado after that, I'll say Oregon wins that one.
It's high altitude, the second end of a back-to-back road, but they're so much better than Colorado that I bet they steamroll them up in the Rockies.
Then they're home to Washington and Utah, probably getting those are two really good teams. I feel like this year, I think Washington's going to bounce back. I love the DeBauer hire.
Getting both at home.
I'll even say they get both, but I still think that's tricky.
You think they're going to beat Washington and Utah?
I'll put it like this: if they somehow get past Cal, they'll drop a game to either Washington or Utah.
They're going to lose to Utah. They got smashed last year by Utah. I'm going to give them Washington. I'm going to have them drop Utah, I think.
Well, then they go to.
This is it.
Corvallis.
This is for the over.
Yeah. I'm on Oregon State.
We got
this rivalry is
the
Civil War. It's absolutely fantastic. This is one of the reasons why college football is the best. Oregon at Oregon State should happen every year. Please, Oregon, never go to the Big Ten or the SEC or any of that, or even the Big 12, unless you bring Oregon State with you. All right, because this is a lot of fun. This is a lot of fun every year. I really enjoy this
good
rivalry
series. Wikipedia got it at 67-48 in Oregon's favor, so not that far off. They're winning 65% of the time, maybe even less than that.
I'm taking Oregon State in an upset. I think Jonathan Smith's team is going to be kind of low key good this year.
You could be right. What's the recent history in this?
I think last time they were in Corvallis, they lost.
Is that right?
It was a crazy game, though. It was an absolute crazy game, I believe.
Last few games in Corvallis have been two losses in the last 3 trips, but other than that, pretty successful. I'm going Oregon here. I'm going 9-3.
I'm going 8-4. I'm on the under. I think the questions at quarterback. I mean, they could easily be 10-2. Who we kidding? If they can pull off an upset,
here or there. Yeah.
I do think Vegas is spot on with the number, but I just think I haven't seen Lanning coach before.
Yeah, it's asking a lot.
I haven't seen Bo Nix be good before, so I think between those two and major question marks, and the fact you're at a conference schedule is across the country against the team that won the national championship and
a BYU team and
even Eastern Washington is not bad. Give me the under on the Ducks. I got them at 8-4.
You're taking a lot of good teams' best shot, so sometimes you drop those.
They don't
games.
even play USC, but hey, they're not. They were only 4-8 last year, so I wouldn't say that they're one of the better teams. Folks, subscribe to the College Football Experience. I'm excited for the Ducks season, and I really hope. Look, I would gladly be wrong here. All right, but I think 8-4, 8-4 for the Ducks.
What are the guaranteed losses?
I think you got to say Georgia,
and BYU after, or not BYU, Utah after last year.
But what do you mean that's in Eugene? They never played them in Eugene.
Dude, 38-7 and 38-10. I don't think home field advantage makes that big of a difference. And that second one was in a fucking dome, so it's not like BYU had a huge altitude.
Let me ask you this: what is the flat out easiest win on the schedule?
Let me get back to that schedule. I am going to say probably Eastern one. No, Colorado. No, that's at Colorado though. There's probably at Arizona.
Tough schedule, man.
It is a tough schedule. There's not really any super easy wins there.
I'm on the under 8-4. Folks, subscribe to the College Football Experience. Also remember, subscribe to the College Basketball Experience. I am really excited about the Ducks team in this upcoming season. Also remember to check out the Sports Gambling Podcast. They're already doing NFL futures. If you're a Seahawks fan, they're going team by team, all 32 teams in the NFL with a podcast for each team. Check that out. And remember, folks, give us a 5-star review on iTunes. If you do that, take a screenshot. Find me on Twitter at the Colby D or at TCE on SGPN. That's the College Football Experience on Twitter. Send me that screenshot. We'll send you a College Football Experience T-shirt. It'll look like that pennant right there. Shout out to that. Yeah, Patty C is on Twitter at Patty C831. NC Nick's on Twitter at NC_NICK. Subscribe, follow all of us. As we break down all 131 teams in the FBS with a solo podcast like we do every year, but this year 131 for the first time ever since James Madison is in the FBS. There you go. Other podcasts to check out, the MLB Gambling Podcast continues to roll through the summer months. Same with the CFL Gambling Podcast. Maybe you're listening to this in the state of Washington. Get up there to a BC Lions game. Subscribe to those. Check out the MMA Gambling Podcast. Check out the MLS Gambling Podcast. MLS fan base is strong up there. Also, the Soccer Gambling Podcast. World Cup coming this fall, buddy. So that should be exciting as well.
Oh yeah.
All right, folks. I'm on the under. He's on the over. This is the College Football Experience, Oregon Duck style. You better start thinking about yours. And we out of here.
Because when you're at East Carolina, you go for it every time.
I smoke and I drink and I don't have stress and I'm healthy.
I didn't come here to study. I came here to study. It sucks. It really sucks.
At the Olympics. Doesn't matter who wins because they're all losers.
I think tide turning, as I remember, I was raised in the desert, but tides kind of, it's easy to see a tide turn.
Hello? You play.
Did I say those
win
words?
The game. You don't play to just play it.
The best looking man, the best dressed man, long limousines,